I'm not exactly sure how many of you can still hear this broadcast, but I'm going to keep talking as long as my transmitter holds up. My name is Aaron Mercer, and I'm speaking to you from what used to be the main weather observatory outside Des Moines, Iowa. I'm a 34-year-old meteorologist who found himself at ground zero of a crisis that seemed impossible just a few days ago. It's been only hours since the first official confirmations that our climate had reached an irreversible tipping point, and I can feel the cold seeping in everywhere. I've tried to seal up the windows with plastic wrap and towels, but the wind finds a way in. If you can hear my voice, stay with me. Let's walk through these first hours together and try to make some sense of what's happening. To anyone tuning in now, you're listening to a low-frequency broadcast I rigged out of the observatory's old emergency systems, tying it in with my personal ham radio set. It's patched through a backup generator fed by a propane tank out back, a tank I hope will last for the next 3 or 4 days. The main power grid flickered off about 2 hours ago, and since then I've only seen darkness on the horizon. Everything is quiet when the wind dies down, like the entire region is holding its breath. I started noticing odd temperature drops about a week ago, but nobody in my professional circles believed the data at first. Every model we had suggested a gradual cooling effect due to massive volcanic eruptions earlier in the year, but not like this. Then the NOAA satellites began sending conflicting telemetry. Air currents we rely on for heat distribution started shifting south with unexpected speed. By last night, ground stations in Minnesota were reporting temperatures dropping by nearly 10 degrees per hour. I remember checking a lab thermometer and thinking it had to be malfunctioning because it read -20 within the building's partial climate control. Turns out it was working just fine. I've lost contact with KCCI, our local station, and the major AM news frequencies are either pure static or stuck on automated emergency weather alerts. Those alerts have repeated the same looping message: seek shelter, conserve power, stay warm. The emergency broadcast system beeped about an hour ago, then went silent. I've tried raising local law enforcement on the radio, but I haven't had any luck yet. Folks, you should know that our city's official population is around 200,000, and so many of them were caught off guard by how fast the temperature dropped. If you're in the area and you can hear this, please find the sturdiest location you can. Block off doors and windows, gather blankets, and if you can, store some water because the pipes may freeze any moment now. The National Guard was supposed to set up warming stations in downtown Des Moines, but that plan was hammered out only about 3 hours before the grid collapsed. I have no clue if those stations became operational. The roads might be frozen solid by this point. The last outside line I had was from a colleague named Diana Morgan, who was operating a weather drone out near Omaha. She said the Missouri River had already started to form sheets of ice on its surface, something that doesn't happen in October under normal circumstances. She saw 4 or 5 major collisions on I-80 as well, because motorists were not prepared for the black ice. Then her voice disappeared in a snap of static. I keep replaying her final words in my mind. She said, "It's happening faster than any of us predicted." That was it. I'm going to keep this as calm and helpful as possible, but you should know that the forecast is changing by the minute. My meteorological station feed is giving me weird partial data. It's telling me we're looking at sustained winds from the north at over 40 miles an hour, with gusts that might reach 70 or 80. That's enough to topple smaller structures and blow out windows. The air temperature is -37 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill that could bring it down below -70. These numbers don't make sense for October, not in Iowa, and definitely not overnight. I used to teach meteorology courses part-time at Drake University, and we talk about abrupt climate events in prehistoric times. I never thought I'd see one happen in less than a week. I'm getting faint signals from a Kansas City channel, but they're so distorted I can only pick out fragments about massive winter storm front. So it's not just us up here. To the best of my knowledge, this cold wave stretches from Canada all the way into Oklahoma, maybe further south. I'm going to scan some frequencies in a moment to see if I can find out about conditions on the East Coast. A friend from NOAA's Boston division sent me an urgent email about a day ago, talking about how they measured sudden changes in the Atlantic's Gulf Stream pattern. She was worried that if the main current shut down or diverted, the eastern seaboard could see historically low temperatures. I dismissed it as a worst-case scenario for future decades, not hours from now. Clearly, I was wrong. Let me take a moment to clarify that I do not represent any official government body. I'm just a meteorologist with a personal radio license, trying to share whatever information I have to keep people alive and prepared for what's unfolding. If anyone out there has functional radio equipment and you can transmit, please try to reach me on the frequencies we typically reserve for weather events and emergencies. I'll be listening on the half hour. We need to establish a network of reliable information before rumors and panic take over. Remember, keep yourself warm and stay put if you can. Traveling on roads in these temperatures is extremely dangerous. Hypothermia can set in within minutes, and even vehicles are struggling to operate in sub-zero conditions like these. I grew up on a farm about 40 miles north of here, near a small town called Nevada, Iowa. My father taught me how to handle harsh winters and always said that nature can be cruel, especially if you don't give it the respect it deserves. I never forgot that. Every year we'd see our fair share of heavy snow, but it's nothing like this. We're talking about a cold so intense that it leaves frost on the inside of the windows. By now, the farmland where I was raised is likely a white desert. The barn my father built might be creaking under the weight of the wind. At least there's a water well there that doesn't rely on electricity. I hope my family made it to a safer spot. In the meantime, I have a few gallons of water, some packaged food, and the heat turned off everywhere except this one small office in the observatory. I'm running a space heater off the same generator that's powering my radio. The rest of the building is pitch dark. Every once in a while, I catch the reflection of the city lights in the distance, but more and more of them are winking out. From my vantage point on the second floor, I see mostly shadows below me. It's eerie. I remember looking out the same window last night and seeing the usual night glow of Des Moines. Now it's like someone turned off civilization's switch. If you're just joining me, we're in the early hours of what many scientists are starting to call an abrupt new ice age event. The ocean currents have changed. Volcanic eruptions have thrown so much ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere that sunlight is reduced, and the chain reaction is accelerating at terrifying speed. I'm doing my best to piece together data from whatever sources remain. I'm aware that the entire upper Midwest is in a state of emergency. Governors of several states declared states of crisis, but that was right before the power grid failed in many regions. Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas. Some communities might be facing minus 50 or minus 60 degree weather tonight. This is not typical Arctic infiltration. This is something else, a worldwide phenomenon that might be unstoppable now. Hang tight with me. I'm going to fiddle with the dial for a second and see if I can get any new transmissions. All I hear is static and the occasional beep of an emergency signal. No one is responding. I'll keep trying. I wonder if the folks at the local news station had time to evacuate or if they're still up there, just as I am, hoping that the generator holds out. Without power, radio may become our only lifeline to each other. If you have an emergency radio, keep it tuned. I'll be broadcasting on these frequencies as often as I can. Even if you only hear me reading the weather data or describing local conditions, it's something. I'm trying to be that steady voice in the darkness because I know how terrifying it can be to feel alone in a global crisis. I've been on the phone with an old friend in the Air National Guard, Captain Linda Wells, but we got disconnected when her cell network failed. Before we lost contact, she said they were trying to mobilize rescue flights using a C-130 Hercules to supply heated shelters in major population centers. The problem is, the conditions are not safe for flight. Ice buildup on the wings can be catastrophic, and you can't de-ice constantly in the air. She also mentioned that some roads in the region have been blocked by drifting snow taller than trucks. She sounded stressed, but determined. This situation is unprecedented. Our infrastructure isn't built for it. She told me, "We'll do what we can, but we're flying blind out here." Then the call dropped. Let me tell you more about what I've seen personally. Yesterday, the wind was howling so loud it felt like standing behind a jet engine. Snow hasn't stopped since it started, and it fell horizontally, driven by that brutal wind. I could barely open the front door earlier when I tried to check the snowfall. The drifts have piled above waist level. I snapped some pictures on my phone, but my battery is almost dead, and there's not enough power to waste charging it fully. I can't risk draining the generator. I'll rely on voice alone for now. Outside, the sky is this angry swirl of white and gray, like a massive funnel that refuses to move on. It's almost mesmerizing in a terrible way. I recall reading about the Younger Dryas period in Earth's history, a sudden cooling event that happened thousands of years ago. Scientists used to debate whether it was caused by a comet impact or a freshwater pulse in the Atlantic. Now it feels like we're living through a modern version of that, only much faster. The temperature drop is so drastic that it defies everything we thought we knew about climate patterns. I'm certain there will be scientists in the future who will try to understand how this all happened, but right now the priority is survival. If you're still in an area with partial electricity or heat, count yourself lucky and make preparations. Stock up on any essentials you can safely acquire, but do not venture outside unless it's absolutely necessary. I want to share some practical tips. Keep all your windows and doors closed, obviously, but also block them off with towels or blankets to prevent drafts. If you have an emergency kit, keep it where it's easily accessible. It might be wise to fill your bathtub with water before your pipes freeze, if you still have running water. Layer your clothing. Even indoors, wear multiple layers. Thermal underwear if you have it. Sweaters, jackets, hats, gloves. Hypothermia can still happen indoors if your heating fails. Also, be cautious with alternative heating sources. Propane heaters or grills can be dangerous indoors if used improperly, and carbon monoxide is a silent threat. If you can't maintain warmth, relocate to an interior room or closet with minimal drafts. Your body heat will keep that small space warmer. I'm also hearing unconfirmed reports that similar conditions are sweeping across parts of Canada, obviously, and stretching far down into the south of the United States. Texas might be experiencing unusual freezing rain. The entire eastern seaboard is on alert. The West Coast might fare slightly better at first due to warm ocean currents, but there's word that the Pacific is also cooling rapidly. If you're near coastal areas, the sea might already be forming ice sheets close to shore. We're looking at a phenomenon that seems global in scope, as if the entire planet decided to lock itself in a deep freeze. From a meteorological standpoint, it's like the world's climate engine seized up. Listen, I'm just one voice among possibly thousands who are broadcasting in the dark right now. If you can hear me, spread the word that this frequency is active. Let's keep some semblance of communication alive. Even if we're just talking about the weather or checking in on each other's safety, it matters. Isolation in times of crisis can lead to despair. Keep your mind occupied. Read if you can. Play games with your family or friends. Do anything that helps you stay calm. Above all, do not give up. We've survived extreme conditions before as a species, and we might survive this too. Time check. I've been on the air for about 3 hours now, give or take, since the grid went down. The last official reading I took showed minus 43 degrees with wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. The generator is holding out, but I'm rationing the fuel. I turn off the lights in all rooms except this one. Even my computer is running on minimal power. Thankfully, the server that collects local temperature data has its own battery backup, so I can still watch as the numbers drop, though it's a horrifying sight. I keep hoping it'll level out soon, but each reading is lower than the last. I'm noticing that my breath is fogging the air even here by the heater, a sign the temperature is barely above freezing in this room. I'm wearing multiple layers, wool socks, thermal pants, a heavy coat. I've got gloves on too, and they're making it harder to adjust the radio's dials, but I'll manage. I still have feeling in my fingers, which is a good sign. If we get any major temperature dips, we might break records that have stood since the last major glacial period. Those of you in rural areas might be cut off entirely. I recall a small community near Clear Lake that thrives on tourism and local farming. They probably never expected to face an event like this in October. If anyone is up there, be sure to check on your neighbors if it's at all possible. This is the kind of situation where communities must band together. Sharing resources such as generators or fuel might be the difference between making it through the night or not. Just be cautious on the roads. Even if they look clear, black ice can spin your vehicle out in seconds, and you do not want to get stranded in sub-zero weather. I've been reviewing some of the older messages that were left on my phone before the network died. One was from my friend, an atmospheric scientist named Robert Huang, who was attending a conference in Chicago on extreme weather mitigation. He told me they were seeing chaotic shifts in the polar jet stream. He used phrases like unprecedented, off the charts, and extremely dangerous. That was less than 24 hours ago. He sounded alarmed, which is unusual for him. He's the type who always remains calm, even in major tornado situations. If a scientist like Robert was worried, that means the data must have been truly terrifying. I'm going to attempt to dial into an emergency net on 146.52 megahertz and see if anyone is out there. No, nothing but static. Maybe the folks who are on that net have gone quiet because the cold is forcing them to conserve power. I'll keep trying intermittently. If you're listening and can transmit, try cycling through standard ham frequencies. I'm leaving my receiver open on a few channels, hoping we might connect. Communication is our lifeline right now. We need each other's observations, experiences, and suggestions. What's truly strange is that the atmosphere seems to have stabilized into a massive polar vortex over the central United States. This type of pattern usually shifts, but it's been locked in place for hours. From what I can infer, blocking high-pressure systems in the Atlantic and Pacific might be pinning the cold air here, fueling this freeze. That also suggests that once it moves, it could sweep across the rest of the continent. Cities like New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, all could be in for a catastrophic drop. If anyone out there has updates on conditions in those cities, please share them. The lines of communication might be our only way to build a bigger picture of what's happening. I keep glancing at the large observation window that faces west. The swirling snow and wind are constant. The sky has that strange hue, somewhere between pale gray and a washed-out white. Visibility is near zero. If you walked 2 feet beyond the building, you'd vanish in the storm. It's surreal to think this started so suddenly. 4 or 5 days ago, we were enjoying mild autumn weather, leaves changing color, people visiting apple orchards. Now, entire highways are shut down, and the temperature is dangerously cold. It's like we've been thrust into a new geological epoch overnight. I want to address any possible misinformation. I've heard speculation that these temperatures are caused by a new kind of weapon or some experiment gone awry. But based on the data I have and the conversations I had with other meteorologists before we lost contact, this appears to be a natural, though extreme, climatic shift. Admittedly, something might have pushed the climate over the edge. Excess greenhouse gases, volcanic eruptions, changes in ocean circulation, or a combination of all three. But I have no evidence of any single factor being entirely responsible. Right now, the immediate priority is not the exact cause, but how we survive. If I get more accurate data, I'll share it. For now, I'll hold off on speculation and stick to the facts as best as I know them. A short while ago, I tried to open a supply closet down the hall. The door was jammed by the pressure of the wind and a buildup of snow that must have blown in through a broken window. I forced it open with my shoulder, and the corridor was already covered in a thin layer of ice. The window glass had cracked from the cold, letting the blizzard inside. The ceiling tiles were dusted with frost, and the fluorescent lights flickered. I quickly grabbed a few blankets, a spare propane tank, and some canned goods, then came right back. I sealed that section of the building off to prevent the cold from spreading further into this room. This entire building, once bustling with staff and interns, is now a frozen maze. Hard to believe I was joking about leftover summer heat just last week. It's been about 5 hours since my initial broadcast, I believe. I'm losing track of time a bit. Let me check my watch. Yes, roughly 5 hours. The temperature reading is -49 now. The wind speed is still near 70 miles per hour. If anything, it might be getting stronger. These are the kind of wind chills that you might only see in the upper Arctic during extreme storms, and we're in the middle of Iowa in October. I keep repeating that because it still doesn't feel real. But I can assure you, from the chills creeping up my spine, it's very real. I'll try to rotate the frequency dial again, see if we can pick up any new signals. I'm still getting only the automated emergency broadcasts, no new voices. If you're out there, and if you have a ham license or any kind of transmitter, don't hesitate to speak up, even if it's just to say you're okay or to describe conditions in your neighborhood. Every piece of information counts. We might eventually piece together a mosaic of what's happening nationwide. Isolation in crises is dangerous. Let's fight that by staying connected through the airwaves. Let me take this opportunity to share a few local landmarks in Des Moines. that might offer shelter if they're still accessible and have backup power. The Iowa Events Center downtown could be a place, though I don't know if the city managed to open it. The Wells Fargo Arena occasionally doubles as an emergency shelter in storms. There's also Drake University's indoor stadium, which might provide warmth if the generators there are operational. The bigger problem is getting to any of these places safely. My advice would be, if you have any shelter at all, you might be better off staying where you are rather than risking a trip outdoors in these conditions. Again, I can't stress enough how lethal the combination of cold and wind can be. I just noticed my reflection in the window. I look pale, a bit disheveled. No surprise there, given the circumstances. My voice might sound steady, but I can feel my heart pounding. I've been trying to maintain a calm demeanor for the sake of anyone listening. Fear can spread like wildfire, and I don't want to add to it. But I have to be honest, this situation is dire. We're in uncharted territory, meteorologically speaking. Daylight, if you can even call it that under these storm clouds, might not bring much relief. If anything, the temperature may continue to plummet as the sun struggles to penetrate the atmospheric haze. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit -60 or -70 by morning. That's approaching the coldest temperatures ever recorded on Earth outside of Antarctica. Let's talk about the state of the nation as far as I know. Major highways from Minneapolis down to Kansas City are reportedly impassable. Airports in Chicago, St. Louis, Omaha, and Des Moines have suspended all flights. The last update from the Federal Aviation Administration indicated that de-icing equipment couldn't keep up with the freezing rate on wings and runways. Large swaths of the electrical grid are offline, especially in regions where power lines have snapped under the weight of ice and the force of the wind. Local emergency services are overwhelmed, and the usual resources, snowplows, salt trucks, are no match for conditions like these. I'm saying all this not to frighten you, but to prepare you. Do not expect an immediate rescue if you find yourself in trouble. It might be days or even weeks before help can get through. I heard a rumor from a friend who worked at a nuclear power plant near the Quad Cities that they're trying to manage safe shutdown procedures because the extreme cold is affecting their cooling intake systems. I don't have confirmation on that, and I don't want to cause alarm. Nuclear plants have multiple safety protocols, but this is a reminder that many infrastructures we rely on were never designed to withstand a sudden, severe freeze of this magnitude. Even if the plants remain stable, the distribution networks for electricity might fail anyway. I haven't eaten in hours, but I can't leave the microphone too long. I unwrap a stale protein bar. If you're listening, check your own supplies. Try to eat food that doesn't require cooking, or if you must cook, ventilate carefully to avoid carbon monoxide. Cold air can be dehydrating. So fill containers if your pipes still work, or melt snow if needed, though that costs energy. I keep scanning the frequencies. Just the automated loop, then maybe a faint voice. Could be interference, or someone on another frequency. We're about 7 hours into this freeze in my area. It started further north a day or two ago. Some say volcanic ash is blocking sunlight and ocean currents have shifted. It's enough to plunge us into an abrupt freeze. An ice age might be too big a term, but it feels that way. Most of us weren't ready for these flesh-freezing temperatures. If you're stranded in a vehicle, don't abandon it unless you see definite shelter. Keep the exhaust pipe clear of snow and move your limbs to maintain circulation. Realistically, help may not arrive soon. My own generator shows maybe 30 hours of fuel left. There's a diesel generator in another building, but diesel can gel in extreme cold. I'll check if conditions improve. Thinking back, just a week ago I was hiking with friends in Ledges State Park, 65 degrees and sunny. Now the windows here are opaque with frost, the wind roars, and the building groans. Outside it's -53 and dropping. If anyone's trekking out there, find shelter fast. Even a barn is better than nothing. Below ground spaces might be more stable, so consider moving down if you're losing heat upstairs. 9 hours have passed. I keep broadcasting because it gives me purpose. I recall ham operators in past disasters who stayed on the air until rescue came. Nobody's sure if rescue is on the way this time, but at least we can try not to feel alone. I switched to thicker gloves because my fingers were going numb. My breath frosts the microphone stand. If you carry a portable radio, keep it inside your coat to protect the batteries. Checking the emergency frequency again, I only hear the shelter-in-place loop until a faint transmission from West Des Moines. They're trapped on a second floor, their stairwell blocked by ice. If rescuers can function in -60, they need help. Now the signal's gone. I wish I could do more. If you're still out there, don't lose hope. We're nearing midnight, hour 12. The city is pitch black and the wind is relentless. It might be -60 with the wind chill. I've read about frost quakes from sudden ground freezing, but so far I haven't heard one. This building keeps creaking. I pray it holds. I've got a small cot if I need to rest, but adrenaline keeps me awake. The windows are fractal sheets of ice, the lights flicker, and the temperature keeps dropping. We might stay locked in this freeze for days if the jet stream remains stuck. The first 100 hours is crucial in any disaster, shaping survival odds. If your clothes or blankets get damp, switch them out. Insulate windows with whatever you have. Heat just one room if possible. If you have pets, keep them close for shared warmth. I mark each hour on a piece of paper. We're at hour 10 now. If we reach hour 24, we'll have survived an entire day of this. Maybe the labs at local universities are recording data on this historic event. I used to dream of researching sudden climate shifts, never imagining I'd experience one so fast. If you're further south, your freeze might just be starting. Brace yourselves, stock up, hunker down, and don't take any chances. We're at hour 11. Amazing how quickly normal life slipped away. No one believed it would get this bad so fast. If I'd understood, I might have gone somewhere fortified or joined a group. Instead, I'm broadcasting alone. Still, at least it helps me, and maybe someone out there too. A faint voice again on the radio calling from West Des Moines near Valley West Mall. They have minimal supplies and no safe exit. If you're listening, hang on. Midnight is here. The sky is fully dark. No moonlight, no city glow. The wind howls at -60. I fear for anyone caught outside. This building groans, but I'll keep talking as long as I can. This might be a good time to share some emotional coping strategies. Anyone listening has probably felt the onset of panic or dread. Focus on your breathing. Find a routine. Keep your mind occupied. If you have children, try to keep them calm with stories or games. Hope is a powerful ally in times like these. We might be facing an extreme scenario, but humans have survived harsh conditions before. Try to recall times you overcame adversity. It can strengthen your resolve. I recall reading diaries from early settlers in this region who endured brutal winters without modern technology. They managed by sticking together, rationing supplies, and maintaining a communal spirit. We can do the same, though it's made more challenging by the scale of this crisis. It's not just one territory. It might be the entire planet. But if we stick to the basics, shelter, warmth, water, food, we can improve our chances. I have to keep an eye on the propane gauge, which is slowly but surely dropping. By my calculations, I can keep the radio running another 20 or so hours if I maintain minimal power usage. The space heater is on its lowest setting. My fingers are stiff, but I can still operate the equipment. If we get to hour 24, I might have to power down for a while to conserve fuel, but I'll try to broadcast on the half-hour intervals if possible. During quiet moments, I think about how my colleagues at NOAA must be feeling. We had been analyzing data about rising temperatures in the Arctic, ironically anticipating more storms and flooding. We never imagined a scenario like this, where the meltdown of ocean currents triggers a sudden freeze. It's like the climate decided to flip a switch. I also remember a time when I spoke at a local conference about the possibilities of abrupt climate events. People nodded politely, but most believed it was centuries away if it was to happen at all. And yet, here we are. Let me try the radio dial again. Still no luck. I keep hearing that automated message in the background telling people to shelter in place. I'd love to know how many are hearing it and how many are able to do anything about it. Maybe it's giving someone comfort somewhere, a robotic reminder that they're not alone. If the city or state authorities are still out there, I wish them the best in coordinating relief efforts. I'm going to describe the visual scene again, swirling white outside with no sign of letting up. The wind is ferocious, rattling every loose piece of metal on this building. The entire environment is blanketed in a thick layer of snow and ice. The sky is a low ceiling of clouds that occasionally flicker with silent lightning. Yes, there's some kind of atmospheric phenomenon going on out there. Thunder snow, possibly, though I haven't heard the thunder. Just brief flashes of light. It's a stark, almost alien landscape. If you had told me a week ago this would be the new norm, I would have laughed. Now, it's the reality we're living in. As we push toward hour 13, I'm starting to feel the strain of staying awake, but I fear that if I sleep, I won't wake up, either from hypothermia or from a system failure. I've set a small alarm on my watch in case I drift off. If the generator fails, I'll lose power to the heater and the radio. That could be a death sentence in minus 60 weather. So I keep sipping water, nibbling on protein bars, and talking to all of you out there in the darkness, hoping my words are doing something, anything, to keep you going. Let's talk about historical parallels for a moment, though none truly match what we're facing. During the Little Ice Age in Europe, which spanned roughly from the 14th to the 19th century, people experienced extended periods of cooler temperatures, shortened growing seasons, and harsh winters. But that was spread out over centuries, not days. Some parts of the world had frost fairs on frozen rivers. Comparatively, we've plummeted to life-threatening sub-zero temperatures in the span of less than a week. This is more akin to catastrophic events that might happen after asteroid impacts or massive volcanic eruptions. The speed is unprecedented. If anyone still has internet or a functioning smartphone, official sources are likely overwhelmed or offline. But if you do find updated scientific data, compare the current atmospheric conditions to anything on record. My guess is you'll find no precedent. I just hope the world's leaders, if they can still coordinate, are making large-scale survival plans. Perhaps they're opening massive shelters, repurposing stadiums, or deploying the military to assist. I wish I had a direct line to them, but right now, all I have is this microphone and a battered old radio set. Hour 14 creeps up on us. I can't see a clock, so I'm relying on my watch and a small wind-up timer I found in the observatory's break room. The temperature reading is minus 58. The winds remain brutal. I can sense the building shaking now and then. I'll say it plainly. If you're in any compromised structure, try to find a sturdier one before the storm intensifies further. If your house or apartment has multiple floors, consider staying on the lowest level, away from the wind. Unless there's a risk of flooding, that is. Though in these temperatures, everything is likely frozen solid. I wonder about my friend Diana Morgan, who was near Omaha, tracking weather drones. She never re-established contact after that final message. Omaha might be in the grip of the same cold front. If she couldn't find a heated shelter, it's possible her equipment froze. I keep telling myself she's okay, maybe hunkered down in a secure facility. But the silence is unsettling. This crisis is creating pockets of isolation all over. Even if thousands of people are out there, each one feels alone in the howling wind. To you listeners who are toughing it out, remember that even simple things can become challenging in extreme cold. Your phone might die faster. Your car tires might deflate a bit. Metal can become brittle. Keep your mind sharp, double-check everything, and rely on basic survival knowledge. Body heat is precious. If you're sheltering with others, huddle together. If you're alone, create as many insulating layers as possible around your body. Try to ensure you have some ventilation, though, because sealing yourself in too tight can deplete oxygen if you're using fuel-based heat. 15 hours since the blackout, maybe longer. Another contact attempt on the radio. Nothing but static. I have these recurring moments where I think I hear a voice, but it's likely the wind howling through cracks in the walls. Sometimes, prolonged listening can lead to audio hallucinations. I recall that from my storm chasing days, where I'd be so keyed up that I'd think I heard tornado sirens when there were none. Right now, the drone of the wind is constant and hypnotic, but I'll keep trying. If the cold continues at this rate, we might be dealing with widespread power outages for days. Even if the temperature rose suddenly, the damage to infrastructure would take time to fix. Frozen lines, damaged transformers, jammed roads. It's not a quick turnaround. This could be the beginning of a new way of life, at least for those of us who survived the initial onslaught. My thoughts keep circling back to that. Is this the start of a permanent freeze, or will it retreat eventually? Without reliable global data, I can't say. All I can do is keep you updated on what's happening here, hour by hour. It might help to imagine you're with me, here in this small control room. You'd see the flickering overhead light, the frost edging the corners of the window, the radio rig set up on a metal desk, wires running to a generator in the hallway. You'd hear the steady hum of that generator, occasionally sputtering. You'd feel the chill in the air, even with the space heater running at its lowest setting. It's not comfortable, but it's manageable for now. We'd be taking turns at the mic, reading off temperature data, scanning frequencies, telling each other stories to pass the time. Outre, 16 hours. I wonder what day it is technically. Probably early Tuesday morning now. Time blurs. My watch says it's around 2 a.m., but the perpetual storm outside makes it hard to confirm. There's no visible moon or stars, just swirling clouds and snow. I need to check the fuel supply. Okay, the gauge reads just under half a tank. That's actually better than I expected. I might have enough to last another 20 hours, give or take. That means I can keep broadcasting a while longer. My hope is that the storm will ease before I run out. If it doesn't, I'll have to get creative or find another power source. If you've just tuned in by some miracle, this is Aaron Mercer, broadcasting from the Des Moines Weather Observatory. We're experiencing a massive and abrupt freeze event that has plunged temperatures far below zero in less than a day. The city is blacked out, roads are icy and impassable, and the wind chills are extreme. I'm trying to keep folks informed and connected, so if you can hear me, know that you're not alone. Keep yourself and your loved ones safe. Stay indoors, preserve heat, and try to reach me on standard emergency frequencies if you can. I'll listen on the half hour for any transmissions. I keep thinking about places like Lincoln, Nebraska, or Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or even smaller towns like Carroll, Iowa, where people might be cut off entirely. So many folks might not have prepared for a storm like this, especially not in early fall. If you're in a larger city, maybe you have a slight advantage with communal resources, but that also means more competition for limited supplies. Neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block, it's going to be a struggle. We can only hope that somewhere out there, teams are working to restore power or establish emergency shelters. I wish I had more concrete updates on that front, but all official lines are silent. 17 hours and counting. I'm fighting fatigue. My eyes are heavy and the cold doesn't help. I might have to sleep in short increments. Maybe I'll broadcast another half hour, then rest for 20 minutes, set an alarm on my watch to wake me. I'm worried about the generator failing while I'm asleep, but I have to trust that it'll keep humming. Let me push a little farther before I crash. Your voices, imagined or real, keep me going. I recall a time in college when I was enthralled by stories of polar explorers, men and women who braved the harshest conditions on the planet. They had rudimentary gear compared to what we have today, yet they persevered. Reading about their journeys gave me shivers, but I always felt safe in my heated dorm room. Now I wonder if we're all part of an unintended polar expedition. Except we didn't choose it, and it's happening right here in our homes. In a strange way, their stories inspire me to remain steady, because if they could endure, maybe we can too. 18 hours. I'm going to see if I can glean anything from these instrument readings. The temperature is -60. The barometric pressure is still rising. The wind gusts have ticked up to 80 miles per hour in some bursts. That's near hurricane force. The building groans occasionally, but it's holding. Outside, it sounds like a roaring freight train of ice pellets hitting the walls. My guess is that we're nearing the center of this monstrous system, or at least a strong band of it. If it moves on, we might see a slight let-up. But from all accounts, the system is massive, covering multiple states. I'm starting to wonder about potential flooding when temperatures eventually rise. With this much snow and ice, if we get a sudden thaw, rivers and streams could overflow. But that's a problem for another day. Right now, we just need to survive the freeze. I do worry about farmland, livestock, and the broader food supply. This kind of extreme event can devastate entire harvests. The ripple effects will be felt for months, if not years, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. One crisis at a time. 19 hours and the storm rages on. I've tried to keep a log of calls or transmissions I've heard, but there haven't been many. The faint West Des Moines call, then nothing. It could be that people's batteries have died. Or they might be saving power for life-supporting equipment. Some might have moved to safer locations if they had a chance. I'll continue scanning, though I'm not optimistic. The more time passes, the harder it becomes to communicate. I realize I haven't done a thorough check of the lower floors in this building. There might be a better location for me to set up, or maybe supplies I missed. But venturing into those dark hallways with the possibility of more broken windows and ice is risky. I'll wait until morning, or what passes for morning under these clouds. If the wind dies down, I'll explore. For now, I'll stay here, near my precious radio equipment. What? 20 hours. The cold is unrelenting. I've decided to talk a bit about the psychological aspect of extreme cold, because it can break a person down. Keep your mind engaged with tasks, routines, and moments of reflection. A small sense of purpose, like collecting data or broadcasting updates, can make a huge difference. That's what I'm doing, and I encourage any listener to do the same in their environment. Simple tasks, organizing your supplies, checking on neighbors if you can, documenting conditions can keep your mind focused and stave off despair. We're all in this together, even if we're physically isolated. Now I'm approaching hour 21. My watch says it's around 5 a.m., though you wouldn't know it by looking outside. The sky remains dark. Occasionally the wind shifts. I see a faint glow behind the clouds, possibly from the city lights that remain or from distant lightning. Hard to tell. The temperature remains brutally low, -60, with wind chill that's likely off the charts. This is the kind of cold that can kill within minutes if you're not properly protected. Let me remind anyone who might be just tuning in. Do not go outside. If you are in a compromised structure, try to move to a more insulated room or find a sturdy shelter nearby. But any substantial travel in this weather is too dangerous. I'm debating whether to catch a short nap. If I fall asleep on the mic, forgive me. My voice might fade, but I'll be here. Let me set my watch alarm for 30 minutes. I need a bit of rest, or I'll start making mistakes. If you're listening and you hear silence, I'll be back soon. Just stay safe. I'm awake again. The watch alarm worked. My body is stiff from the cold. The space heater is still running, thank goodness. The generator is still humming. Let me check the gauges. We're a bit lower on propane than I'd like, but still have enough for maybe 15 hours if I'm frugal. That means if the storm doesn't ease by then, I'll be in trouble. But let's not dwell on that just yet. I'll continue the broadcast as promised. Hour 22. The temperature is -61. No improvement. Winds are still howling. Maybe even stronger. I'm going to hazard a guess that we're hitting gusts of 80 or more. The building is shaking more frequently, and I hear occasional crashes that might be debris or parts of the structure giving way. So far, the main support beams hold. I'm thankful for that. I don't see any movement outside, not that visibility is more than a few feet. It's all a swirling mass of white, like being inside a snow globe from some cosmic vantage. Let me speak to anyone near the edges of this system. If you're in a region where the temperatures are just now plunging, don't wait. Gather supplies. Find sturdy shelter. Tell your loved ones to prepare. This freeze is traveling swiftly. Some forecasts suggested it might push all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. I wouldn't be surprised if places like Dallas or Houston see unheard of temperatures soon. If you have relatives or friends there, warn them. Even an extra few hours of prep can be life-saving. Mtsat, hour 23. I recalled reading about orchard farmers who use large fans or heaters to protect fruit from frost. That might help in normal cold snaps, but in -60, all bets are off. Crops are likely destroyed in many areas. Livestock, too, unless they're housed in well-insulated barns with ample heat. Food shortages could become a real concern if this lasts. Even trucks delivering supplies can't operate on icy roads, and with the entire supply chain disrupted, we're looking at a potential humanitarian crisis. But we'll tackle that once we get past these initial hours. Enough. Hour 24, a full day since the power grid failed in Des Moines. Let's mark this milestone. Many of you have likely endured unimaginable cold for 24 hours now. If you've made it this far, you've done something remarkable. Keep going. Keep warm, keep calm, and conserve your resources. Daylight, or what counts as daylight, might appear soon. Perhaps that will allow you to see if your surroundings are intact, or if there's a path to a safer location. But proceed carefully. The risk of frostbite is extreme. If you've lost feeling in your fingers or toes, you need warmth immediately. I'm scanning for signals again. I hear the faint automated loop. No new voices. I imagine there are pockets of survivors in every neighborhood, quietly waiting out the storm. Some might not have radios at all. Others might be too cold or too frightened to reach out. If you are listening, remember that we're connected by these airwaves. Even if I can't hear you, you can hear me, and I'm telling you not to give up. Hour 25. I notice the cracks in the window are worse. Ice has formed ridges on the inside pane. If it shatters, this room will be flooded with sub-zero wind in seconds. I might need to barricade it with furniture. Let me do that. There, that should brace it a bit. It won't be pretty if the window blows in, but at least it won't be a direct blast. I'll keep an ear out for further cracks. The interior temperature is dropping despite the heater. My guess is it's around 30 or 35 in here now. Above freezing, but not by much. Enough to keep me alive, though. Hour 26. Let's talk about the possibility of help arriving from outside states. If you're in a place that's not yet fully frozen, consider organizing supply caravans or volunteer groups, but only if it's safe. The entire Midwest is likely locked in ice, and conventional relief methods might not work. Airdrops are too hazardous, roads are too dangerous, and we don't have enough specialized vehicles. But if you have safer conditions, at least stock up for your own area. Stay informed if you can, through any media still operating. If the freeze is global, we might all be in the same predicament soon. Hour 27. My body is shivering more frequently. I've added another blanket around my legs. The constant drone of the storm is enough to drive a person mad, but I keep telling myself to focus on breathing. The microphone has a thin layer of frost where my breath hits it. I wipe it away every so often. This is the reality we're in, frost forming indoors. I think back to summer picnics, the taste of fresh watermelon, sunshine on my skin. It feels like a distant dream. And hour 28, I keep hearing little pops from the corner of the room. Possibly the heater's metal components adjusting to the temperature changes. Every new sound makes me jump. I wonder if the storm is at its peak, or if it will intensify further. The data from my instrument suggests it might hold steady for at least another day. That's terrifying. We've already seen minus 61. Could minus 70 or minus 80 be next? I don't want to find out, but I might not have a choice. Hour 29. If you're still tuned in, thank you for staying. Your silent presence is a comfort. I imagine we're in some sort of communal space, huddled around a radio. You pass me a cup of something hot and I keep broadcasting. That's how I like to envision it. It helps me cope with the loneliness. Reality, of course, is that I'm alone in this battered building, talking to an audience I can't see, but it's better than the alternative of silence. At end, hour 30. Another milestone. That's nearly a day and a half since the worst hit us. The propane gauge is around 40%, maybe 12 more hours of power. Outside it's minus 62. Even my instruments are glitching from the cold. Technology wasn't designed for this kind of freeze. Hour 31. If you're desperate for heat, you might have to burn furniture or books. Just be careful. Carbon monoxide and open flames can be as dangerous as the cold. Thawing pipes is risky too. Hot water rags work, but they cost fuel. Weigh every choice carefully. Hour 32. Wildlife must be devastated. Deer, foxes, birds, none are prepared for this sudden onslaught. Rivers and lakes might freeze solid, killing fish. This crisis touches every living thing. I don't say that to depress you, just to show how big this is. Hour 33. Let me share a memory. When I was 10, my dad and I went ice fishing. We drilled a hole, and the cold felt invigorating, not deadly. We cooked fish on a small stove, creating a cozy pocket of warmth. Hard to imagine that simple joy now, but it helps to remember calmer times. Hour 34. If you're able to help neighbors, do it carefully. A functioning generator or a warm basement could save lives. But traveling outside in minus 60 can be fatal. Teamwork matters, yet the risk is real. Balance compassion with safety. Hour 35. I realize I'm dehydrated. Even indoors, extreme cold saps moisture from the air. I sip water that's almost too icy to swallow. It's a small task, but it can save my clarity of mind. Don't neglect the basics. Hour 36. Could we be halfway through this storm? Or is it just getting started? Without satellite data, I'm in the dark, literally and figuratively. Some say once an ice age starts, it can last centuries. I refuse to believe we're there yet. Hour 37. The generator sputtered. I cleared frost off the intake. If it fails, I lose heat and communication. I'm clinging to a fragile lifeline here. I'll keep nursing the machine while I have the strength. Hour 38. Something just slammed against the wall outside, maybe debris from a roof or a tree branch. It shook the whole building. I'm glad this room has no large window in that direction. One shattered pane and I'm done for. Hour 39. If you're listening, keep pushing forward. The human spirit can endure so much. If you have children, remind them there's a future. Even if it's buried under ice right now, we adapt. That's what we do. Hour 40. I think it's midday, but the sky is too dark to be sure. We've hit minus 63. With fierce winds, I spot heavier snow drifting. If the storm moves, we might get a break, or a bigger drop in temperature. I'm clinging to hope. Hour 41. Part of me wants to search for survivors, but the drifts are 5 feet high. The wind chill can freeze you in minutes. For now, staying put is safer. If you're thinking about leaving shelter, no help might not reach you. Sometimes your best chance is where you already are. Hour 42. Only the emergency loop plays on the radio, warning everyone to stay put and conserve energy. The family from West Des Moines hasn't checked in again. I pray they found a way to survive. If you're out there, hang on. Hour 43. My eyes sting from the dry, frigid air. A scarf helps me breathe into the mic, but each word feels like it saps warmth from my lungs. Still, I keep going. If this broadcast helps even one person, it's worth it. Hour 44. A note on frostbite. Watch for numbness, burning, or grayish skin. Warm gently with lukewarm water. Don't rub it. Ice crystals can tear tissue. Prevention is best, so cover up. This cold doesn't forgive mistakes. Hour 45. Another loud groan from the building. I trust the architects did their job, but I've never seen a storm last this long. Tornadoes come and go. This freeze refuses to move on, pressing down on us like an endless night. Hour 46. Any official agency listening? People need a reassuring voice, even if you can't reach them physically. An update can lift spirits. I know you must be overwhelmed, but don't underestimate how important simple communication can be. Hour 47. My toes are numb despite 3 layers of socks. I can't afford to increase the heater's output. Too much load on the generator. If you're stuck indoors, try light exercises or stretches. Staying active can generate a bit of warmth, but don't overdo it. Hour 48. 2 days of sub-zero horror. If you're still here, well done. Each hour you survive is a victory over this freeze. I keep telling myself nature can shift quickly, that maybe tomorrow will bring some relief. The weather rarely listens, but hope is a powerful thing. Hour 49. What about after the storm? Migration south if it's warmer there? Or is everywhere frozen? We'll have to rebuild somehow. Communities might need to pool resources on an unprecedented scale. I keep faith that once communications are fully restored, we'll work together. Hour 50. I'm hearing a slight change in wind pitch. Could mean the storm's shifting. Temperature is minus 63. Wind speed around 75 mph. The barometric pressure is falling. That might mean another wave of cold or maybe a break. I can't tell which. Hour 51. The generator's hum is weirdly comforting, but I'm at 30% fuel. Maybe 9 more hours if I'm careful. I might try a supply run to the maintenance shed, but that means braving the courtyard with a rope around my waist. If the storm calms even a bit, I'll chance it. Hour 52. For now, I'm staying inside. Ice crystals slice the air like glass shards. If I can't see more than a foot ahead, I'd just wander blindly. Better to conserve energy, watch the gauge, and pray the freeze ends. Hour 53. Storms eventually break. But when? Historically, shifts like this took centuries. Here, it happened overnight. Still, we can't give up on the idea of sunlight burning through the clouds again. The planet hasn't stopped spinning just because it's cold. Hour 54. The building sways under another wind blast. I check the makeshift barricade around the window. Still stable. Frost seeps under doors, and every crack is a path for the cold. It's like the storm is alive, trying to penetrate every barrier. Hour 55. If you're holed up with friends or family, consider yourselves lucky to have company. I'm alone, but at least I have this microphone. We're connected in a way. Maybe one day we'll meet, share stories of this frozen nightmare. Hour 56. My throat hurts from talking in the dry air. I sip water that's half frozen. If I fall silent for a bit, it's just me resting. Don't panic. I'll keep returning as long as the generator runs. I don't want the airwaves to go quiet if I can help it. Hour 57. Build a smaller shelter inside if you can. Tents or improvised walls retain heat. One small space is easier to warm than an entire house. It might look strange, but in a crisis, comfort matters less than survival. Hour 58. The storm rages non-stop. Sometimes the wind sounds almost alive, like it has a mind of its own. I picture it sweeping across the plains, turning the Midwest into a frozen desert. The rest of the country might be facing the same fate, but without communication, I can't confirm. Hour 59. I keep replaying that call from the trapped family. They had little food and a small propane heater. If you're listening, I hope you found a way to endure. If you can't respond, at least hear these words. You're not alone. Hour 60. 2.5 days, give or take. This is all uncharted territory. I've never known cold like this, but we're still here. Every hour is a testament to human resilience. Don't let the storm take your spirit. Hour 61. The building rattles more often. I'm prepared to move to the basement if I hear a major collapse, though it might be icy down there. My vantage here is useful for broadcasting, but I won't risk my life if the walls start to give. Hour 62. Barometric pressure changes suggest another front is coming. Without better data, I can't say if it's better or worse. All I know is it's minus 63, and it hurts to breathe. Don't assume it'll warm up soon. Keep your guard up. Hour 63. I have about 7 hours of fuel left. I'll rest in short bursts, but the broadcast continues. If I vanish, it could be the generator or something else. I'll stretch what I have. Maybe dropping the heater another notch is worth it. Hour 64. Turning the heater down again means I see my breath more clearly. I'm piling on blankets. It's a trade-off. A few more hours of radio power in exchange for more shivers. Think warm thoughts, everyone. Hour 65? Try to visualize summer. Green grass, sunshine, kids running through sprinklers. It's a mental trick, but any spark of hope can keep the chill from breaking you. Hour 66. The wind shifts direction. If it's east, snow might drift differently. I can't stop it, so I adapt. Humans survive by adapting. We've done it through history. We'll do it now, even if it means huddling in the dark. Hour 67. If you still have gadgets, keep them close to your body. Cold drains batteries fast. A dead phone or radio can't help you. Every little trick matters when the environment is this hostile. Hour 68. No new voices on the radio. Maybe others have run out of power or are too cold to continue. I'll keep talking even if it feels like I'm alone in the static. It matters that someone's still here. Hour 69. A quick high-frequency scan yields nothing but static. Could be atmospheric interference. This storm might be blocking signals. I keep trying. Sometimes the ionosphere bounces signals from far away. Hour 70. Approaching 3 days now. You might be low on supplies. Ration carefully. Water is key. You can go longer without food, but dehydration sets in faster. Don't let fear consume you. Direct that energy into staying alive. Hour 71. My food stash should last a few more days if I pace myself. Water is trickier. I could melt snow if the generator holds, but I'm counting on a diminishing resource, one crisis at a time. Hour 72, 3 full days. Society ground to a halt in under a week. Even if the freeze recedes, the infrastructure is shattered. Still, I believe we'll endure. Southern regions might be faring better, or maybe not. Without solid info, I can only hope. Hour 73. The generator coughed again. I brushed off more frost. This is a constant chore, keeping machines alive in a climate that hates them. I'll keep going as long as it runs. After that, it's just me against the cold. Hour 74. I'm going to rest a bit. If I go quiet, I'll be back. Short silence, then a return. I'm awake. My feet are numb, but I'm alive. The storm rages. Temperature is still in the -60s. No real change. Hour 75. We've learned that when global systems fail, the cold can strike fast. Our comforts vanish. Communication is fragile. Hope, though intangible, is crucial. If you're still warm, count that as a win. Hour 76. It might be morning again. Judging by a faint gray tint in the sky, I've lost all sense of days. The last I recall was Sunday. We could be heading into Thursday. Time is strange when nature rewrites the rules. Hour 77. Scanning frequencies yields nothing but the loop. Others might have gone silent. Broadcasting is tough under these conditions. I'll keep pushing. No point stopping now. Hour 78. If you just tuned in, I'm Aaron Mercer at the Des Moines Observatory. We're in the first 100 hours of a sudden freeze. Temperatures around -65, wind gusts near 80. Minimal data from beyond Iowa. I'll keep sharing what I can. Hour 79. If the freeze lingers, we'll need cooperative living and innovative solutions. This crisis might shape the future. Greenhouses, underground shelters, who knows? We'll adapt if we survive the present. Hour 80. Only 5 hours of generator fuel left. Once it's done, no heat or broadcast. I'll try lowering the heater again. It'll be bone-chilling, but I want to stay on the air as long as I can. Hour 81. The room temperature drops fast with the heater turned down. I'm wearing every layer possible. Extreme explorers dealt with worse, so maybe I can too. Each hour is a little victory. Hour 82. I recall a childhood blizzard that shut down school for a week. We built a snow fort and laughed about it. This is no playful winter storm, but remembering simpler times eases my mind. Hour 83. The wind's ferocity increases, banging the building. Something broke in the hallway, but I don't have the energy to investigate. I'll stay here until I have no choice. Hour 84. The barometer is dropping. A new phase of the storm, possibly heavier snow. Normal weather rules are out the window. We're dealing with something unprecedented, so I brace for the worst. Hour 85. Another sputter from the generator. It's near empty. I keep brushing frost away. We might only have a few hours left. After that, it's flashlights in a cold, dark room. Bat. Hour 86. Silence on the airwaves persists. The isolation is crushing, yet this might connects us, however tenuously. If you're out there listening, you're my anchor too. Hour 87. It's -66. I speak in half-frozen breaths, but I refuse to quit. Maybe rescue teams are planning something once the wind eases. We have to believe in possibilities. Hour 88. I imagine warmer cities preparing supply convoys. Maybe they're just waiting for roads to clear. Holding on to that image keeps me from sinking into despair. Hour 89. The window creaks ominously. The furniture barricade is my last defense. If it fails, I'll move to a different room or floor. Time is precious, and so is body heat. Hour 90. 3 days, 18 hours. The dreaded first 100 hours is near. They say if you survive that, your odds improve. I'm clinging to the idea that we'll see some break in this relentless cold. Hour 91. Fuel gauge at 5%. 2 or 3 hours left if I'm lucky. I've cut power to everything except the radio and a tiny light. My teeth chatter nonstop. But I'd rather freeze than go silent. Hour 92. It feels like I've talked forever. With only brief naps, if you've stuck with me, Thank you. Even unseen, your presence comforts me. I'm just a weather guy trying to hold the line. Hour 93, I sense a slight lull in the wind, or maybe I'm imagining it. The temperature still hovers near -68, at least it's not dropping further. Small mercies. Hour 94. The generator coughs again, near its last gasp. If I vanish, it's out of my control. I might switch to battery power for a final sign-off, but that won't heat me. My voice could fade quickly in the cold. Hour 95. Searching for candles or flashlights. Found a single candle and a weak flashlight. Not much, but it's better than total darkness. A small flame might at least help me see my own breath. Hour 96. 4 hours to the 100-hour mark. The generator sputters continuously. I can feel the end coming. If I drop off suddenly, know I gave it my best. I hope you did too. Hour 97. The building shudders. Metal scrapes below. Snow slips in under the door. My feet are numb, but I hang on to the mic. Maybe that's silly, but it feels like my only connection to humanity. Hour 98. Almost to that 100-hour goal. I'm determined to stay awake. If the generator dies, I'll wrap up in blankets, light the candle, and speak on battery until it goes. We'll ride these last moments together. Hour 99. The heater barely functions now. My lips feel frozen. Still, I'm proud we got this far. If you're hearing this, you should be proud too. It's an achievement to endure a freeze like this. And hour 100. We've reached it, folks. 100 hours since the grid went down. Since the real nightmare began. Maybe it began earlier for others, maybe later for some. But for me, this is the milestone. I'm still here, still speaking to whoever might be listening. I have no new data, no miraculous change in the weather, no rescue team at my door. But I have hope. If we can survive these first 100 hours, maybe, just maybe, we can survive whatever comes next. The generator just died. I'm switching to battery power. The lights are out, the heater is off, and I'm down to a small flashlight. The temperature in here will plummet fast. But at least the radio is still on for the moment. I can talk a bit longer. If you're hearing this, I pray you're safe. I pray all of us find a path forward. The freeze hasn't ended, but we've made it through the first 100 hours. I'm lighting the candle. There's a small flicker of flame. It's comforting in the darkness. My watch says we're officially at hour 100, plus a few minutes. I don't know how much time the battery has, but I'll stay until the end. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not giving up. Even if I never learn your names or hear your voices, you've kept me company in this frozen world. That counts for something. The static is rising and my signal might be fading. I'm going to save a little battery so I can try scanning for other signals one last time. If you hear silence, it might be the final silence. But remember, you are not alone. We faced the unimaginable and we reached 100 hours. Take heart in that. Keep fighting. Keep hoping. This is Aaron Mercer, signing off now from the Des Moines Observatory in the midst of an unimaginable freeze. Stay alive. Stay warm. Maybe one day we'll thaw out together. And two halves.